Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Thank you for joining me today. Could I ask that you also join me in wishing Zelos happy birthday? It is their 10th anniversary this year, 10 years since they made their first watch, the Helmsman, and launched it on Kickstarter back in 2014. It's hard to believe that a brand as big and well known and as successful as Zelos started with 178 sales via Kickstarter. People knock the platform, sometimes deservedly so, but it has allowed a lot of companies like Zelos to raise funds, get a foothold, and you know what they say about acorns and oaks, don't you? Anyway, to celebrate, commemorate, and undoubtedly to capitalise on that anniversary, Zelos are bringing the Helmsman back. And I think there's an interesting story there about what 10 years has done to trends within the watch market in general and to Zelos as a brand in particular. More on that later. Now, you saw the pop-up? This video is sponsored by Zelos. Elshan sent me one of these new model anniversary Helmsmans for review. I will therefore of course leave a link to their website in the description of the video. Now, he also sent me 4 Zelos from his personal collection, including the original Helmsman. Plus I've got a couple of my own, so I thought it would be really interesting to do a bit of a Zelos through the years. Have a brief look at each of these watches chronologically and why Elshan felt they were important pieces, important enough to send me anyway, followed by a brief review of the new Helmsman prior to its launch at the beginning of next week. As always with Zelos, they are popular watches, they sell out pretty quickly. If you want one, set your alarm for the drop, or just pepper their Facebook group with angry messages the following day. The choice is yours. Let's flip the camera and get on with it. Well, there you go. What a selection, what a collection. To be honest though, I reckon Elshan could have sent me another 25 pieces and still not covered all of his model releases over the last 10 years. Zelos have undoubtedly been one of, if not the most prolific of all of the micro brands. Who can blame the man for that? Clearly, with the Helmsman and other subsequent releases, Elshan and Zelos have captured, if not all of, then certainly a component of the microbrand zeitgeist, and have understandably looked to capitalise on that by producing new models and variations of old models every couple of months. Now, he sent me these 4, the Helmsman, a Hammerhead, a ZX, and a Mirage, and these 2 are mine. That's a Mako 2 and a Spearfish Dual Time. Plus, on my wrist, I have the new release, the one you're probably most interested in, the Helmsman 10th Birthday Special Edition. Let's run through these briefly in the chronological order which they were released before getting on to this one. First up, of course, it is the original Helmsman in bronze. Now, you saw quite a lot of bronze on the table, I'm sure. The Helmsman was made in stainless steel as well, but as I said, Zelos captured that zeitgeist, the material zeitgeist. You'll see a whole bunch of different materials on the table over the course of the next couple of minutes. Now, this was launched on Kickstarter in 2014 and was the birth of Zelos. The idea was to provide a dress diver twist, apparently, on the usual dive watches that were out there, with an inner bezel, multi-layered dial and skeletonized hands, and CNC machine case sides. You'll see a lot of design traits that were carried over to other Zelos models, all finding their origin back in this one. Next up, it is the Hammerhead. I've looked at a couple of Hammerheads over the years. This was an important watch for the brand because they sold a ton of them and did a ton of different variations, again both in stainless steel, titanium and bronze over the years. Plus, one of the big draws of this specific model was the meteorite dial. They were one of the first affordable brands to feature meteorite dials and bezel inserts, and of course the enormous and completely unnecessary 1000 meters of water resistance was also clearly something that resonated with the public. Next up is the Mako. Now, this is my personal watch. I've had it for many years, and this was where I first encountered the brand. Late 17, early 18. They actually sent me a Mako 2 with a black meteorite dial and black meteorite bezel insert for review, and I foolishly sold it. Now, I regretted that, but I did manage to track this one down. It's a grey meteorite with bronze bezel. Not quite the same, but it's pretty close. It scratched that particular regretful itch. I really enjoy this watch. It's full on, it's full of lume, and it has been in and out of pools and seas across the globe, that bronze patina developing every time it does so. Now, Zelos don't just do sub $500 US dive watches. They've also pushed the boundaries in terms of price and movement as well. This ZX chronograph did just that when it launched, also
also on Kickstarter back in 2018. It featured a Damascus case, so a titanium Damascus mixture, and was the first ever watch that used this particular material. And long gone are the Seikos and Miyotas of the launch models. This one features a Valjoux 7750 no less. Which is all well and good, but pales into insignificance next to the Mirage. Now, this was deliberately launched as a Halo model. This is actually Mirage 2. I looked at the original Mirage when it was released, and it was unlike any micro, I think, on the market at the time. Sapphire dial, skeletonization, exquisitely machined 8-day power reserve tourbillon movement, and a hefty price tag. Needless to say, they all sold out very quickly. And bringing us right up to date, it is the Spearfish Dual Time. This was the Zelos released before the Helmsman anniversary. Titanium case and bracelet, both coated in a hardness coated material, and with what is now Zelos' signature outrageous in-your-face styling. It also features a premium Salita movement with a custom module on top. I guess being as popular as they are has allowed Zelos to experiment, to play around with materials and to play around with dial and bezels, and even with movements. Et voila, the Helmsman 2. In some ways, it's Zelos' greatest hits. It contains every material that has been used up to this point, minus bronze I think, all squeezed into the one watch. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that this one has mass appeal. I never do with Zelos, but for those who like Zelos' particular style, this one will have very strong appeal, I'm sure. Moving backwards to the packaging, I think now as an acknowledgement of the fact that people collect multiple Zelos, they come in this neat little orange and blue watch roll that can contain 3 of your collection. It also comes with the very attractive bronze coloured, but not actually bronze, metallic warranty card with the underwhelming 1-year warranty. I complain about this every time, but nobody seems to care, least of all Zelos, because they've done nothing about increasing the length of their warranty, despite the ever-increasing cost and complexity of their watches. On that note, these anniversary Helmsman, by the way, are $650 US. I reckon that's about twice the price of the original Helmsman from 2014. What can you tell by the two models side by side? Well, there are a number of traits that are carried over. The Arabics at 12 and 6, the inner rotating bezel, the CNC machine scallop sides, and the same overall case profile, jewel crowns, etc, etc. However, there are a couple of other notable points. A size reduction from 44 down to 40, and an ever-increasing range of exotic materials. This one was bronze, this one is titanium, but features meteorite and Damascus. I think both of these things are emblematic of where the watch world has gone in general in terms of sizing, but where the micro-brand watch world, and Zelos in particular, has gone in terms of materials over the last decade. Well, I already gave you one of the dimensions, I may as well give you the rest of them. 40mm in diameter, 12.5mm thick, with a 46.5mm lug to lug, very much more compact than the original. 20mm between the lugs. As supplied here on this very neat and tidy fitted rubber strap, it weighs in at 81 grams. 200 meters of water resistance, screw down crown. That is a piece of box domed flat sapphire with anti-reflective inner undercoating, and the movement in the back, interestingly enough, is the same as they used 10 years ago. It's the Miyota 9015, which you cannot see today, but you are rewarded instead with a very attractive screw-on titanium caseback featuring a ship's wheel, hence Helmsman. Both case and case back are hardness coated, by the way. It does say in the middle 10th anniversary 2014 to 2024, Thai Damascus, meteorite, the dial and case combination, and these are all individually numbered from a run of only 300. The new watch has a really nice side profile, certainly a lot more elegant than the slab-sided and chunky look of the original, and it has a much shorter lug to lug as well. I'm not necessarily a massive fan of these scallop sides myself. I've seen them maybe on 10 different watches now. It can be a bit hit or miss, but it's quite nice looking here, and I think they get away with it because of that side profile. Both these crowns are branded with the Zelos logo, unlike the original watch, and both crowns are loomed, again, unlike the original watch. You can also see here they could have taken about a mil off the case profile if they hadn't used a piece of big box sapphire. And this is a very nice, fully fitted, quick release FKM rubber strap. Again, just when you thought there wasn't enough colour on this thing, they choose bright blue stitching and a blue underside and blue double retainers, I guess to pick out some of the blue elements on that Damascus dial. And we may as well have a look at that outrageous dial now, hadn't we? To be honest, I haven't seen Damascus before. This is the first time I've had a look at a Zelos using this particular material, and the colour is certainly nothing if not outrageous. It is formed by mixing a couple of different titanium alloys with different colours, hence you get this almost organic looking tiger stripe effect. Even though there is nothing organic about this material whatsoever, it is decidedly man-made. All the indices are applied on top though, the Arabics at 12 and 6 and those arrowheads elsewhere. Date complication at the 3. One thing to note, the 10 on the date is in yellow because it is the 10th anniversary special edition. 10 years down there, printed also in yellow beneath the pinion. The Zelos logo is applied above the pinion and we have that meteorite inner rotating bezel. Like I said, no shortage of different materials in this one. Now, some of these inner rotating bezels can be smooth, others can be notchy. This is a notchy one, so you get a good feel, literally a feel of every half minute clicking past. No excuses then for not getting it set right. Then there are those skeletonized hands. They're another carryover from the original watch. They're both actually nice and long and legible, but not as legible as the second hand. You can see that this has a rather large and rather yellow arrowhead tip, again picking out the yellow 10, the yellow model name, and the yellow 10 years. I always say with Zelos, there's a lot going on. They are not watches for everybody, and that certainly applies in this case. It does wear very nicely indeed, though, much better than the 44mm original did, that's for sure. Certainly on my average size 7-inch wrist. This fitted rubber strap is great, though I'm not sure I could personally handle the blue stitching and the blue retainers long term. It is super comfortable though, with that compact lug to lug. Overhead shot for legibility, okay, it's not too bad, but who am I kidding? Who cares about the legibility? Nobody buying this watch will be looking for a sensible, everyday timepiece. You don't buy something with a Damascus dial and a meteorite bezel if you're looking for a sensible timepiece, do you? I mean, does this look like the lume that belongs in a sensible timepiece? This bicolour effect has long been a Zelos signature. The majority of the dial and hands are C3, that's the green colour, but there are occasional bursts of BGW9, that's the pale blue colour, on the minute track and in the first portion of that bezel insert. Now, when I turn the speed up, there is notable fading, but everything is still nicely legible at the end of my test, and just in case you've forgotten, both crowns are loomed as well. So it may be a birthday boy, it may now be in double digits, but the brand is still subject to the moans and niggles section, just like everybody else. 1 year warranty, I always complain about it, nobody cares about it, but I'm still going to complain about it anyway. I'm also going to observe the price. $650 US, twice the price of the original Helmsman from 10 years ago. Now, I understand inflation and I understand the use of exotic materials, but that is getting up there for a Miyota 9000 series powered watch on an albeit very nice fitted rubber strap. And then we have to talk about the looks. We have to talk about all of those materials. Do you actually like it? Is this a watch you would wear as a daily? Or are you buying it just because you are a Zelos collector? I reckon if I showed this to the average layman in the street, somebody who didn't know anything about watches, and I said, hey, this is an example of a microbrand watch, they would probably run a mile from microbrand watches. That's because this is an example of one particular facet of the wonderful world of microbrand watches, one extreme end of that spectrum. I have no doubt it will find favour, I have no doubt that these will sell out. There are people who simply buy everything that Zelos produces and people who would love a watch with a Damascus dial and meteorite and titanium. But perhaps this one is just a little bit too much for me personally, especially with this blue strap. Maybe on a black strap it would have toned it down a bit, but I reckon I will stick with my meteorite and bronze combo Mako 2. Two different exotic materials in one watch is more than enough for me.
So there you have it, a bit of a must for Zelos collectors this one, particularly if you've only got into watches or the brand themselves over the last couple of years and missed out on some of their earlier legacy models. Smaller and fancier than the original, but also more expensive. I think all three of those things are good yardsticks as to where the brand, the micro market, and the world in general has gone over the last 10 years. While you're here, you should really check out my first ever Zelos review and the watch that I sold and regretted selling, the Mako 2 in black meteorite, or have a look at the first proper flex, the Mirage hand-wound tourbillon. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. I'll see you all again in the next one.